everyone, it's Taylor. We're gonna do something a little different this episode. This isn't a normal episode of Above the Yellow Line. This isn't something like that. You all know me from my stuff with TobyChristieCom. You all know me from my personal stuff, Above the Yellow Line, the show that I run on this channel, and from Twitter. What you might not know about me is I suffer from a chronic condition called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or P.O.T.S to be short. It's a form of dysautonomia. 3 reasons why we're talking about this. So first one is there's other people in this industry, the motorsports industry, that have this condition and they're kicking butt. It's never easy to work a full-time job or work a gig with any chronic condition or any type of medical condition in general. So when we're out and about, we're having to run across the track to get that interview. We're having to work at 6 a.m. to like 12 a.m. I guess at night or in the next morning. It's a lot. So just an ode to them for kicking butt, doing what they do despite all the crazy things that those with dysautonomia have to deal with. Second, I'm talking about P.O.T.S and dysautonomia because I know when I shared my journey or when other people shared their journey, it helped me feel a little less alone, and it made me feel like, you know, there are solutions out there. There are places I can go to get help, to get a diagnosis, to get better and live my life to the fullest again. So if you guys are dealing with symptoms like this, or you know somebody that might be dealing with this, or just to tell you guys in general what this is so you know and can spread awareness yourself, that's what helps get research done. That's what helps get cures figured out, because currently dysautonomia, P.O.T.S, there's no cure for any of this. So the more we spread awareness, the more that we can get to that point where we can find a cure, so everyone who has this illness is able to live their best lives. Third and final reason is it is October. I mean, I love October on its own. It's spooky, it's festive, it's fall, it's fun. But also it is Dysautonomia Awareness Month. So this whole month I'm using to help spread awareness about this illness that affects myself personally and affects many others out there, because like I said, spreading awareness is the way that we get to research cures, and helping everyone understand can hopefully make the world a little bit better for those with chronic conditions. So I want to start by talking about, you know, my journey, what dysautonomia, what P.O.T.S is, and what you all can do to help, if you so choose, to help spread awareness with me. So let's start with some definitions. Let's go to class and let's learn the definition of dysautonomia and P.O.T.S.
So what is dysautonomia? Dysautonomia refers to a group of medical conditions caused by problems with the autonomic nervous system. This part of your nervous system controls involuntary body functions like your heartbeat, breathing, and digestion. When the ANS doesn't work as it should, it causes heart and blood pressure problems, trouble breathing, and loss of bladder control, amongst many other things.
So as you can imagine, when the autonomic nervous system doesn't work as it should, things kind of go off in the body. It can cause gastrointestinal issues, bladder control issues, temperature regulation in your body issues. It can cause a whole bunch of really uncomfortable stuff when your autonomic nervous system doesn't work properly. Then if we go to the specific definition of P.O.T.S, which is what I personally have.
P.O.T.S is a form of dysautonomia, and P.O.T.S can be characterized by 2 factors. One is a specific group of symptoms that frequently occur when standing upright, and the second is a heart rate increase from horizontal to standing, or as tested on a tilt table, look that up separately if you're curious, of at least 30 beats per minute in adults, or at least 40 beats per minute in adolescents, measured during the first 10 minutes of standing. Along with this increase in heart rate, this also involves an increase or decrease in blood pressure when moving positions. This can happen when there is an excessive amount of pooling of blood between the level of the heart when upright and lower amounts of blood in circulation. There are also a few different types of P.O.T.S. I'm going to link things in the description below so you can look up a little bit more about this, but it really is a fascinating illness that not a lot of people know about.
So now that we have the definitions, let's get into the journey piece of it. I'm going to try to condense this as much as I can, but it's also important to understand the full picture, because there's a lot that went into my diagnosis story, as I'm sure a lot goes into other people's diagnosis stories too. And the main piece that I want to bring up is I have mental health conditions. I do. Anxiety, depression, and a few other things. And that, for me personally, kind of barred me from getting medical help that I needed sooner, because when I present symptoms that are involved in P.O.T.S, like I talked about with dizziness, lightheadedness, shortness of breath, chest pain, sometimes I would get like numbness in my face. Like when I present with those symptoms to the ER over and over, the first thing they're going to ask me is, do you have anxiety? Or when they see my chart with anxiety, they're going to say, oh, she's just anxious, let's send her home. And trust me, I had some great doctors and great specialists, but because they didn't know what P.O.T.S was, we were at a roadblock with getting me the help I needed. So the big thing is these mental health issues, in my opinion and from my experience, barred me from getting the help I needed. But they were very real issues, and kind of in my own way, I think led to a lot of the POTS issues. I've had symptoms of POTS my entire life, really, but it didn't get really bad until like my sophomore year, junior, senior year of high school, going into my freshman year of college, when I started to get infections, upper respiratory, back to back to back. And from talking to my doctor, that's what fully set off my POTS, was a lot of those illnesses back to back. What else can set off POTS is if you're idle for a long period of time, maybe if you have a major surgery, something pretty significant. Obviously, I'm going to be linking some links in the description below so you can read more about POTS at Dysautonomia International, the Cleveland Clinic's website if you want to learn more. But there's a lot that can set off POTS, and for me personally, after a lot of illnesses, having a lot of stomach issues, a lot of this other stuff, college, freshman year is when things really started to take a turn for the worse. So going out of freshman year, we did some medical testing. Going into my sophomore year, things got exponentially worse. It got to a point where I wasn't able to eat properly because my stomach hurt so bad, because I was so nauseous. I was losing weight at a rapid pace. I wasn't able to take care of myself. I couldn't stand or sit up for long periods of time. And I had no clue why. I was in my college dorm room. I couldn't go to my classes. And it got to that point where I think 3 weeks into my sophomore year of college in the fall, I withdrew from the university because I just wasn't able to take care of myself. This wasn't something I wanted to have happen, but we had no answers to what was going on. I clearly wasn't getting better, so I had to withdraw from classes on my sophomore year. So the rest of 2019 was trying to figure out diagnoses, trying to go the holistic medical route, getting tests. I would be in and out of the ER trying to figure out what was going on. I think it was 2020 or 2019 where I was in the ER for like 4 days with like severe stomach pain, and it was like up until like the few days before Thanksgiving. Then we had Thanksgiving. It was pretty insane, the amount of ER trips that I've had trying to figure this all out, but 2019 we were pretty lost. So then 2020 we hit a crisis point. I was in a partial hospitalization program to help get my weight up because I wasn't eating. I was so much in pain in my stomach that I wasn't able to eat, so we had to help get my weight up. I was still dizzy beyond belief. My heart rate was just doing astronomically crazy things, and that's the only thing I heard every time we would do vitals in the morning in the partial hospitalization program was, "Wow, your heart rate's really high. Are you nervous?" And I'm like, I mean, no, I'm not really nervous, but I don't know why it's really high. So we took that information, we considered it, and that summer I actually had to go to the doctor. I had to change doctors that summer because I was still seeing my pediatrician, I know, but if I would have changed sooner, maybe I would have gotten a diagnosis sooner, gotten help sooner. But saw this new physician, told her everything that was going on because we still had no clue, and I was like, I'm not getting anywhere with my old physician. What's happening? The first thing she told me after she checked my vitals is, I think you have POTS. And I'm like, pots and pans, POTS? Like, I don't know what this is. And she explained the condition to me, kind of how I explained it to you. And she was like, you know, when you sit up from a couch too fast, do you feel like you're dizzy, lightheaded, whatever, whenever you stand up or move positions? And I was like, yeah. It's basically that feeling when you stand up from a couch too fast and you gotta automatically sit down. That's kind of how it is all the time with people with POTS. At least for me personally, that's how it kind of is every time I move positions. And she was like, you might have POTS, let's look into this more. And she actually referred me over to the Cleveland Clinic with their autonomic specialist group. So I went to the Cleveland Clinic, laying down, he took my blood pressure and heart rate. Sitting up took my blood pressure and heart rate, then standing up took my blood pressure and heart rate. And when I tell you I was gripping like the chair or the table in order to just keep still standing up so I just wouldn't like fall or pass out, that's an understatement. The test is crazy, and there's also a test called the tilt table test. Link in the description below if you want to learn more about that, but that is the official diagnosis for POTS. You gotta go through that. That was not fun for me personally, but diagnosis procedures. But something as simple as like just testing your orthostatic tolerances for like 15 minutes could tell you that you had this diagnosis, which is wild to me. There's 1 to 3 million people in the United States dealing with this condition according to the Hopkins Medical Group. But the average time to get this diagnosis, you guys, is 5 years and 11 months according to Dysautonomia International. 5 years and 11 months. Something as simple as doing a test to test your orthostatic tolerances to tell you that you have a diagnosis, like I said, takes like 15 minutes or something like that. That's wild that we're not getting diagnosed a lot sooner, or people with this condition aren't getting diagnosed a lot sooner when they present these symptoms. And I know you have to go through a checklist to make sure like, hey, this isn't it, we can rule this out, this isn't it, we can rule this out. But having a 5 year and 11 month diagnosis time frame is astronomically just stupid, in my opinion, for lack of better words, because you could use that time if you got diagnosed sooner to reverse some of the damage that this illness does a little bit sooner. Obviously, like I said, there is no cure right now, but there are things that help. So Luckily for me, I got diagnosed sooner than that 5-year period, but unfortunately for other people, they might have a diagnosed period that is a lot longer. Like I said, the 5 years and 11 months is the average diagnosis time period. Some people get diagnosed after 7 years of fighting, 10 years of fighting the medical system. So yeah, it took a bit for me to get diagnosed, but I do feel lucky to know that my diagnosis time did not last as long as others. Obviously, there's more to dysautonomia and POTS into my journey, but that's really the abridged version. But talking about how this affects me, well, what you don't see, like, out of this frame is that I have my feet propped up in order to keep my blood flow working well because my blood pools at my feet. I have compression socks on. If you follow my TikTok page, you know that I do outfit styling for those with compression socks because I have such a hard time in the summer wearing shorts and compression socks. For me, it just feels really awkward. So I do that on TikTok too to spread a little bit more awareness in a fun way. Water bottle always in the corner, always have body armor on me. There's a lot of things I do off-screen, ice packs under my legs in order to keep myself cool, regulate my body temperature, but there's a lot that you don't see on screen that I do to keep myself alert and with it. I also take breaks in the middle of filming. That's why sometimes there's some weird cuts within the video because it's me having to calm down, having to regulate my body, my heart rate, my blood pressure again. So there's a lot that you don't see and a lot that a lot of people don't see for people that deal with this illness that we have to deal with and go through. And the one thing that I really realize is through all of this, I have to plan my life differently too. Everywhere I go, I have to have like backup plans. Like, is there a place for me to sit? Do I have to stand really long at this place? If I'm in the line at the grocery store and I start to feel sick, do I sit down on the floor? I mean, there's a lot more things in life now that I have to plan than just being spontaneous and going. Like to the racetrack, Charlotte Motor Speedway, going to Michigan Speedway. I had to think through a lot of things. I had to make sure I was good. Actually, when I was meeting the Toby Christie team, we all went out to eat. I almost passed out at the restaurant. So there's a lot of things that aren't easy anymore to do. It's things that I took for granted before I was really, really sick that I realize now are actually privileges. So there's a lot more that I have to think through, but also it's made me a different person, this illness has. It's in a way, it's made me a stronger person just because I know I have to fight through a lot more than old me used to have to. I'm also grateful though with accommodations that my school has that allow me to be in the classrooms, my professors that work with me, being able to work remotely. I have 2 jobs within the industry that I'm working remotely right now. Have afforded me the opportunity to be able to make a living with my condition, which has been it's been a blessing, really, because I know a lot of people with this illness can struggle to get jobs and everything, so those accommodations are really helpful and things that help me too. There are other things that help POTS patients as well, like accommodations, like I said, but also compression socks, cooling yourself down, medications to control your blood pressure and heart rate. Salt intake actually helps raise your blood volume, so those who get low blood pressure with POTS like I can, it helps control your blood volume. Staying hydrated, exercise, getting your legs working so they can pump blood from your legs to your brain. Hydration and exercise also help, and we're obviously having more research done about POTS, what can help, what medications might help. There's also research coming out saying that POTS could be classified as an autoimmune disease, so that's also some really intriguing studies that are being done to help understand this disease better and hopefully find cures. So that's a little bit about dysautonomia and POTS, about my journey. Where am I today? I mentioned that I'm working 2 jobs remotely in the industry right now. I'm also back at school working to obtain my degree in broadcast journalism with a minor in sports issues and marketing, and I should hopefully have my degree in the spring of 2023, so I am very excited and grateful to be where I am. To close this out, if you have any questions, comments, and concerns for me that I could answer, let me know in the comments below or reach out to me on Twitter or social media. I'm always an open book about this, and I'm sharing my journey again and hope to help other people and also to spread awareness. So if there's anywhere I can help you or anything like that, let me know, please. At least I can point you in the right direction of where you could get some information about this illness. Something else too is Dysautonomia International is a great organization that helps support Dysautonomia Awareness Month. They raise funds for research and help with advocacy and awareness, so they're a great organization to go to if you want more information and also to donate to if you see fit. Finally, I want to leave you all with a message. If you're dealing with chronic conditions, mental health conditions, whatever you may be dealing with, we're all going through something. Do not give up, do not give in, and give yourself some grace. If anything I've learned is you're going to have days where you struggle more than others. You're going to have times where you might mess up. I mean, give yourself some grace and time. You will get through it. I promise you will. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. I know it's a cliche and that's not something you want to hear while you're in the thick of just crap in your life, but there is something better out there. Don't give up, don't give in. make a path for yourself, because nothing is impossible until you say it is. If anything I've learned, it's all those things that I just compiled into that sentence. But I want to thank Toby Christie and the TobyChristie.com team for allowing me to share my journey to spread awareness on this. So in the meantime, enjoy the race weekend. Thank you all for supporting me and TobyChristie.com. And until next time, I'll see ya.